Hey, welcome everyone to this fortnightly session of the tool session for frontline workers. Today we have Toby from Crew Energy and Christina from Havering CAB. Toby's going to talk about energy advice, and then Christina's going to be talking about universal credit and the migration. So to start with, Toby, do you want to kick us off?
Yes. I'll just share my screen. I've got a little presentation. Right, there we go, hopefully. So, everyone seeing that?
Yeah, we can see that.
Yep.
Thanks, Toby.
Right, I think this is going to be the logo. There's been lots of backwards and forwards on the logo for a few months now, but I think we're ending up here. So this is half a shot of a bag. I took the handles off just so that people could see what the logo is going to look like when we finally get it done, really. So Crew, we run a couple of projects. We run one in Southwest London called SW Leap, across 4 boroughs, so Wandsworth, Richmond, Kingston and Merton. And then we've just launched this service in Hackney back in April, and it's gone really, really well so far. So we're really excited. Our funding's from UKPN, and it's deliver 1,000 interventions. So that will be, at an event like the one in the picture there, with maybe 15 minutes, half an hour, depending on how busy the session is, of time with each person. And then we do 90 home visits in this. And we talk a little bit about the home visits. That typically lasts about 60, 90 minutes, usually 90, but if it's a small flat, it might last a little bit shorter. And then we've got some funding through recently from the council themselves. And with that, we've bought some radiator foils, draft exclusions and LEDs. And we've got our first footprint in the borough with a safe store unit where they're all locked away. So that's what we're doing. And then in terms of the pop-up events, I mean, we're trying to deliver these through as many channels as possible, and Charles and Marcella have been brilliant. I mean, it's just been amazing, the support we've had, and the rest of the team as well. Abby, just finding all these different charities to work with, food networks, civic centres, libraries. And I think the thing about the libraries is important because a lot of the events can be closed, right? You've got to be a member of the food bank. You've got to be a member, you need to go to that particular charity. With the libraries, anyone can pitch up and get support. So it's good that we have those events as well. As I say, the sessions will last 15 minutes, 30 minutes, depending. If we're a really busy food bank, for instance, it might be 5-10 minutes that you're having a chat with somebody. And what we do is we use a fact sheet to kind of speed up the process. And this is one of those fact sheets. And it's got 3 pages, and it's got QR codes. So, and we're covering all sorts of things in this, and we'll just have a look on the next slide, which is around what we're doing on a home visit. So we look at a whole range of stuff, really, but we will help people with installing their energy savings devices. So that could be the radiator foils, putting them behind the radiators for them. If they can't reach the light bulbs, we can do that, especially Chinazzo, because he's 6'4", 6'5", so no ceiling too high for Chinazzo. And then we'll always look at their boiler. And it was really interesting. On the first visit I did with Marcella, I think it was one of the Happy Energy Eco projects. And we found 2 things that were annoying. One was the battery storage hadn't been installed. The solar on the roof, battery storage hadn't, because apparently it was shorted batteries at the time. So that was kind of good to find out. And the other one was a brand new boiler had been installed and the flow temperature had been set to 80 degrees. And what we've all learned through the crisis and the constant advertising is set your boiler flow, if you've got a condensing boiler, to 60 degrees, because it's much more likely to condense and therefore be efficient than if you set it 80. So we kind of adjusted the guy's boiler down for him, and the house was so hot as well. So so we do those kind of things. We'll check people's thermostats. We had one lady who in Southwest London who was really struggling. She said, "Oh, my house is just so hot and I don't know what to do. My bills are so expensive." And we got there, and her thermostat was a new one. No one explained how to use it, and she had fiddled with it. And she set it 27 degrees. So no wonder she was burning through lots of gas and roasting at the same time. So we kind of set that down to 21. So we do things like that to just make sure the setup's great and it's sort of optimized as possible. We'll look at all sorts of support for grant applications and discounts. So Marcel has asked us to refer people through for eco funding, and we'll look at things like Thames Water. If you're spending more than 5% of your disposable income on water, they will give you a 50% discount if you're on any of the benefits. We will look at things like if people need new white goods or new furniture, Thames Water, British Gas, and a few of the other utilities now have rolling on and off service where we can access that. So, and we can sometimes access for one or two things, not just a single item. So that's really good. I mean, fuel switching used to be something that was quite big in what we did, and then obviously the price caps came in and everything kind of aligned a little bit, and we're coming out a little bit. So there are tariffs cheaper than the price cap again now, but not massively so. Usually, you know, it might be £100, whereas historically we've changed people's and saved them like £500 or something by switching. So there's something that will get introduced again once you kind of get through the worst of this crisis, I think. We'll also give them sort of a benefits checks. We'll just make sure they're claiming everything, and that might also include, like, sometimes you'll have maybe someone's recently lost their partner and they're now living alone, so they could get their discount on their council tax and they're not aware of that. The winter fuel payments, we're normally checking for new people that would fall into that category of whether they're claiming or not. Obviously that's got a whole lot harder just recently. And just things like if there's damp, we'll talk people through why the damp's happening, you know, depending on where it is and the walls and things, and what they can do to minimize that, just with simple things like don't dry your clothes on radiators because they dry very, very quickly, and that creates a whole lot of moisture. Whereas if you dry things on a rack, they'll dry more slowly and the air can change steadily and move that moisture out of the property. Don't boil pans without the lids on, keep the moisture in the pan rather than throughout. And then just whenever you can, just vent and open windows to change that air, you know, a couple of times a day will help. So, and we'll see different things. You know, sometimes it's just one wall and it's a really damp wall, and that could be a leak. It could be it's just north facing and really cold and damp. If it's in a bedroom, that's quite often condensation from people sleeping at night and breathing. So we would recommend having the window open a crack just to let the air change through the night. So we give those kind of tips as well. We'll check that they've got a carbon monoxide monitor and it's working. Because quite often if people say, yes, I've got one, it's like 10 years old, and says, yeah, it's been beeping for ages. Yeah, okay, that's because it's coming to the end of its life. So sometimes we have monitors that we can give people as well. So it depends on our funding at any given time. And then we just remind people of all those energy saving tips that we've kind of seen fairly religiously on the TV screens and stuff over the last few years, like only filling your kettle to this level, don't leave stuff on standby. So it's those kind of things that we're going through. And a lot of those are on this sheet as well. And the other thing is there will sometimes be a QR code, like for instance, social tariffs. We had one recently where a lady was paying £60 to, I think it was to BT, it might have been to Virgin, a month for her internet, and she's on benefits, so she actually can get that at £15. So it's saving like, you know, 45 quid a month. So these QR codes take them straight through to the application form. If we're there and they're struggling, we can help them with the forms as well. And then on the back page of this, there's a whole load of videos on how to do things like the reminders on condensation, changing, you know, how to change your thermostat, how to set your boiler flow temperature, those kind of measures. So because obviously we've only got funding to do 90 visits out of 1,000 people. So whereas say on our SW Leap one, we're looking at about a third of the people will get transferred through to a home visit. So this sheet is really important on the heat projects, really, because we can only give that deeper support to so few people. So these are really, really useful sheets. And I've done a couple of events so far. I don't normally do events, but I've done a couple, and it's great. These have worked really well, and people have taken it. And I just kind of circle 3 or 4 things I think are most relevant to them and their case that they should be looking at, and then all the information's there for them to kind of access that. So that's what we do in this, and I'd like to thank everyone at Hackney Council has been brilliant. I think we've been really well received by the other charities and the food networks and everybody. So it's been fabulous so far. We've messaged Cadent. So our funding in South London is through SGN. It's a much deeper project. So in that project, we have someone doing 2 days of telephone advice. So they do deeper interventions still. We have a lot more kit. We have top-up vouchers that we can give away and all those kind of things. So I've written to Cadent recently saying we're really interested in having your funding north of the river. And they've come back, so this is an invitation only. We will have to assess on merits, and it's a standing holding email. So we're waiting for them to come back and say, yeah, let's have a conversation. And if we can, great. If we can get funding for that next year, what we know from the UKPN is there will be more money available the next 3 years. So as long as we hit our targets and they're happy with our sort of CSATs, then we can have funding from them. But I'd like a secondary bit. Like, this is almost the kind of the marketing budget to get people interested. What we really want to do is get into their homes and see what's going on there and how we can help, or have that telephone support line so that people can pick up a phone. And then we can have budget for things like translation. A lot of our staff can speak quite a number of languages, so that kind of helps. But having an extra budget to do those kind of things. In our particular SGM budget, they kind of like a bit of innovation, and like one of the innovations that another group have got is they've got some budget to repair people's boilers. Our piece of innovation is we can do, I think it's about 24 a year EPC assessments. And there's a couple of reasons we want to do EPC assessments. One is rogue landlords, and this is an F and G rated property, shouldn't be rented, but they've somehow paid someone to give them an E-rated EPC. We can do the EPC and say this isn't fit for purpose. And the second one, and the first time it happened, it was actually a council property on the second case, was EPC was quite old, like 15 years old. Rents have changed quite a lot. It was 2 points from being an E. It was in the D category. When we checked it, it was firmly in an E. It was like 4 points in an E. And what that meant was that Wandsworth Council would then actually put it through an Eco4 scheme. If it stayed a D, it couldn't have had that support. So we kind of like that, and we kind of like, we think this will be increasingly important with the 2030 targets, and if the new government brings in maybe got to be D by 2027 or something, there's going to be a bit more of a push to get those properties up the EPC curve. So having this ability to say, I'm not sure about this EPC, is kind of useful. So that's what we're doing. Any questions? Happy to answer.
If any, perfect, Lucy.
Oh, hiya. Yeah, that was really interesting. And funnily enough, we've just been awarded the Cadent funding, Hackney Quest have. So
right, interesting.
We haven't started doing all of the energy saving, but as soon as you started talking, I was like, oh, wow, this is like so relevant to us at the moment. Because we are going to be starting sort of next month to start to provide energy saving advice, not on the scale that you've been doing, as in going into people's homes. It will be very much done within the Hackney Quest Centre.
Okay, great. That's really good. If you need any help, training wise, like, we've got some videos on YouTube. We tend to run training every 6 months. We've just done one, unfortunately, but and we kind of cover two things. One is all of the impact of fuel poverty on health and the outcomes and that kind of stuff. And then we talk about all of the different benefits and discounts and things that you can access. And then the second one is actually, if you do a home visit, it's kind of how to read the house. Is it or is it solid brick? Where do you lose heat? All those kind of things. So I can direct you to those videos if you'd like to have a read. If you kind of want any materials, we can help with that.
Oh, that would be amazing. Because when you're talking about the fact sheet, is there any way I can get the fact sheet? Because that's
Just why don't you drop me an email? My email's there. So drop me an email and we can go from there, Lucy. So
amazing. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Claire?
Yeah, hi. I was wondering if I could get a load of them fact sheets as well, to give out to residents. And you were saying about you do events and stuff. Have you got any planned for Hackney over the next couple of months for people to attend?
Yeah, there is a Excel spreadsheet and that Marcella's running actually, and she loads up, and then we kind of say, right, this person's going to do this event, this person's going to do this event. So, Charles, how are we going to publicize that?
So at the moment, that's done through myself and Marcella. So Claire, if you send me a list of events, we'll plug in and see where there's availability. Unfortunately, so on the ground, there's a gentleman called Chinazo who we've been sending around every corner of the borough. So he's getting to know it. But yeah, if you send us your kind of availability, we've got most of October already booked out, but we're still looking for November and December. So just let me know what sessions and we'll see what availability fits in with crew. Some of your people on the ground, Claire, might have met Chinazo at the coffee mornings recently.
Okay. Really? This person's come to the coffee mornings?
No, at the ones at schools we've been running this week.
Oh,
Claire.
the schools one. Okay. Yes, they have met some there. Yes, they have. As for your criteria of running, like you've got to do 90 home visits, how does that work out? What's the criteria? How's that worked? And have you reached that already?
No, I think about 20 odd have been done so far, and I think there's a pipeline of another 20 or so. So we're kind of running quite quickly, considering we haven't really got to winter yet. Criteria will typically be, I think, Chinazo, or it's going to be Izzy as well, is going to be running events, but Chinazo is going to do all the visits because he's just the more experienced one out of the two of them. They'll just feel like this person really does need a home visit. This one's struggling more than most, and they really benefit. Unfortunately, we've got to be reasonably selective at the moment. We'd love to be doing 30-40% home visits. I mean, lots of people don't want a home visit. That's our experience in Wandsworth and Richmond. They're quite happy taking their light bulbs and their draft excluders and taking some ideas away with them and doing stuff themselves. But yeah, it will tend to be more vulnerable people. So, elderly and maybe with some kind of disability, people with disabled, maybe someone's come through some domestic abuse, more likely to need that sort of more hand-holding approach. So then we would offer that support to them.
So would there be like a referral process, or if they met someone at an event, for example?
It's generally, so far it's people we've met at an event, just because we haven't got that many. Like if it's in Wandsworth, we are getting things like Citizens Advice or some of the other charities say, we've got a really tough case here, could you arrange a home visit, please? And we do that directly before we meet them. We'll go straight to the home visit. Up in Hackney, it's going to be a bit harder, I think, just because we don't have that many slots to do that. But if there is somebody who, my goodness, this person's really, really struggling, then we'll do that for sure.
Great, thank you.
And then you just email either Chinazo, which is CHINAZO, or myself, and we'll kind of pick it up and contact the person.
Thanks.
Neil there.
Hi, Toby. I'm Neil. I manage the lovely side of the council collecting council tax from residents. So, Mr. Popular, as you can imagine, you said you do some sort of benefits advice and stuff. Have you been? We might be running before we can walk here a bit. So, bring this back. Obviously, in Hackney, we've got the Money Hub, which doesn't sit in my world. But have you been given links into where potentially direct residents to from our side? Charles, absolutely. Charles has it all in place, but just in case.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Charles has, and I think we're planning to run an event at the Money Hub as well as part of that support service. So
it's just making sure you are hooked into the right side of the area, so your good work hopefully flows through. But yeah, brilliant. Yeah,
no, absolutely, Neil. Thank you.
Where possible, we've been trying to get Crew Energy to attend the same sessions that Money Hub are at, because Crew do the specialist energy advice where they can, refer to each other in the same room. We've been trying to kind of keep an eye on each other's outreach schedules and make sure they're in the same place at the same time, to kind of maximize the benefits of both services. Does anyone else have any other questions for Toby? Because I know I have one. Abby.
I don't have a question, but I did just want to say a big, massive thank you, because just for instance, this morning at Hackney New Primary School, at the coffee morning we ran, and Chinaza was there, there was a crowd of parents around his table. And so it was just really, really wonderful to have the crew team in person. So thank you.
Brilliant. That's really good. And I think we've done some events in schools before, and I think if we have a bit more time, we can kind of work this out. But we've got like these eco action games. So actually, if we did something like maybe after school, you can chuck out giant snakes and ladders and Twister and things. The kids can play while the parents get 10, 15 minutes to actually have a conversation. And that works quite well. So we can always improve that service a bit, I think, with that.
I guess, Toby, I was wondering if you could reflect on kind of what led, as largely the organisation is based in South London, what led you to decide to work in Hackney, or what kind of brought you to, how did this relationship start, I guess is my question.
I think just ego and global domination was probably the main two drivers. No, it was HSEF. Yeah, we'd started doing work, and Marcella and Jason had asked, would we support, a couple of schools projects it was at the time, and in the end only one went forward because the other one got huge funding rather than just HSEF funding. It got like the PSDS funding. So we did part wood, and we installed solar, and we installed a building management system, and then they came back to us and said, well, there's going to be enough around, will you support more? And we ended up splitting, I think 6 or 7 it was, and one did put their thing after we wrote it, which was frustrating, but the other 6 did, and they've all been approved. So it's 3 feasibility, 3 capex projects. So it's been a really good relationship working with those 2, I think. And I just saw the funding. I thought, well, we've got lots of funding down here. We're doing stuff. I knew there wasn't a service up there, so I chatted to Marcella and just said, I can get 50,000 of funding, and it's turned into a bit more now. Would you like us to run a service? And obviously she was super keen. So that's how it started, really.
Thank you. We're really grateful for you to have taken that initiative. I know that lots of the organisations you visited have got us positive feedback, and yeah, I've got the same feedback as well.
Yeah, it's good.
Thank you, Mariana. So does anyone else have any other questions before we move on to Christina with the second presentation? No, thank you very much, Toby. If you stop presenting, then Christina can come in and talk to us about universal credit.
Okay, so hi again, everyone. Well, I can see some familiar faces, so I guess some of you know me already. So I'm gonna run through a managed migration presentation quickly, because I'm sure most of you are familiar with this. And then I'll spend a bit more time about help to claim services. So just let me share my screen. Okay. So, well, universal credit. Can you all hear me, yeah?
Loud and clear, Christina.
Okay, good. Okay, so as we all know, universal credit is replacing 6 legacy benefits, including child tax credit, housing benefit, income support, income-based job seekers, income-related employment and support allowance, and working tax credit. So there are 4 ways to make a claim for universal credit. I won't go into many details. If you want, I can share my presentation with you so you can go through the slides. So there are new claims when clients are not claiming any benefits, and because of low income or anything else, they need to make a new claim. Natural migration, that's when because of change of circumstances, people must move to universal credit from legacy benefits. Voluntary migration, that's when people choose to move to universal credit. And managed migration is started by the Department of Work and Pensions, and this is the organized process of moving legacy benefit claimants across to UC. And the legacy benefit awards will end once they move to universal credit. So all clients will receive a letter basically between now and so I am just So if the client is on legacy benefits, sometime between now and 2019, they will receive a letter saying that they must move to universal credit. A letter is sent to the client from DWP, and this is called migration notice. It's very important to tell, especially these who are working with vulnerable clients, to make sure that they check that is sent by the DWP. It has client's name and it specifies the date by which claim must, universal credit claim must be made. Because sometimes people are receiving leaflets about universal credit, they're making a claim and they're losing whatever they would not lose if they move under managed migration. So consequences of not following the managed migration process. So if a client does not claim universal credit by the deadline day, the legacy benefits will stop after, subject to any 2 weeks run off for certain benefits, and they will not be entitled to transitional protection if they do not claim, by the final deadline. So as you can see, there are certain words, deadline, final deadline, so we will discuss it a bit further. So what is deadline? So the managed migration process starts for the client when the DWP sends them a migration notice. This is a letter notifying them that they are part of the managed migration process and have 3 months to claim UC before their legacy benefits will end. If a client makes a claim for UC on or before the deadline, the UC award will start from the day they claimed UC. The legacy benefits will end from the day before the UC claim was submitted. So the tax credits will end 1 day before the UC claim was submitted, while housing benefit, income support, ESA, and job seekers will be given 2 weeks run on time. If a client does not make a claim for UC on or before the deadline, the legacy benefits will end from the day before the deadline day. They can still qualify for transitional protection if they make a claim before the final deadline. So what is the final deadline? So clients will have roughly 1 extra month to claim UC after the deadline they stated on the migration notice. So this is called the final deadline. So basically it's day assessment period minus 1 day. And further to this, there are certain circumstances where people cannot make a claim by the deadline or even by the final deadline. So in this case, there's option for them to ask for extension, but this must be done before the deadline rather than the final deadline. And it's under the discretion of the DWP. If they say no, you cannot challenge it, but you can request it again until you are successful. I mean, if you think, you may ask the clients may ask some professionals to help with asking for the deadline. So our help to claim is here to help. So under what circumstances people can ask for extension? So let's say they have some physical or mental health condition. I mean, some people can have it for the lifetime. So this is not the case, but sometimes, it's maybe they are in the hospital or they have some, certain circumstances which may improve in the near future. Or if they have significant caring responsibilities at the time of deadline, or they are temporarily homeless, or they have some domestic emergencies. So transitional protection, this is very important. So as I've briefly spoke about the 4 ways to make a claim for universal credit. So, I mean, some people are better. So these are moving voluntary if they know. And for them, the transitional protection doesn't matter. Unfortunately, some people are much worse on universal credit compared to their legacy benefit. So for them, it's very important to make a claim on time and get a transitional protection. So any form of transitional protection can only apply when a client claims UC under managed migration and the claim is a qualifying claim. So two types of transitional protection relate to the UC rules: transitional capital disregard and student exemption. This allows some people to qualify for UC for a period who wouldn't otherwise be eligible. There's also a transitional element which is added to the calculation of the UC award in some cases to stop clients being financially worse off. So capital disregard, basically, in short words, people who have savings above 16,000, they are not entitled for universal credit under the normal circumstances. However, they would be entitled under managed migration for 1 year. So for these people, it's very important to get an advice that they should claim universal credit the last day of the managed migration, so they can extend that 12 months period when the capital can be disregarded. And then student exemption. So in this case, again, full-time students, under normal circumstances, they are not entitled for universal credit unless they have children or disabilities. But if they're claiming universal credit under managed migration, they would be entitled until the course ends. So yet again, some tactical advice might be needed for this student, because let's say we have a student who is full-time student, and he's ending his course in 4 months, but then he is planning to start another course. So if he makes a claim for universal credit now, his student exemption will end after 4 months when he finishes his current course. And in his case, we would advise him to ask for extension and then to claim universal credit when he starts his new course, because, he can get another 2 years or 3 years, depending on how long the course starts. So, as I said, everything is not as simple as it may seem, and that's why our team, our big national team of help to claim advisors are here to help. Transitional element. So transitional element is an element. So basically, it's a difference between the total legacy amount and the indicated universal credit amount, and it will be in the breakdown. So when they make a claim, there is, like, let's say, personal allowance, housing element, child element, and then it will be transitional element on the breakdown. So the transitional element will end permanently if it's reduced to nil due to erosion. And or if the client has consistent drop in earnings, or if a couple separates or a new couple forms, also they transitional protection will end. Any form of transitional protection will end. There are some exemptions. So if a single claimant entitled to transitional protection forms a couple with a partner who, in simple words, has no recourse to public funds, the transitional protection won't be affected. And so what is erosion? So basically every year, or most of the years, we have increase in the benefits, and then so the benefit will increase and the transitional protection element will get lower until it gets down to nil, and then until it's down to nil, and that's it. Then transitional protection will end. So there are some specific rules about erosion also. So whilst transitional element will be eroded if a client becomes entitled to a new UC element or receives increase. So also, sorry, I've missed it, but as I said, I can share slides because this full presentation will take too much of your time. I normally do just this presentation at the time. So that's why I'm kind of jumping from slide to slide. So child care element won't erode a transitional element. So if a claimant becomes liable to pay childcare costs, they will, this won't affect the universal credit transitional protection. So also increases So basically only increases to existing elements. So let's say the claimant had one child and now he's responsible for 2 children, or he wasn't claiming housing element before and now he's liable to pay rent. So that, will reduce or remove the transitional protection. But they work the income won't cause any erosion. And well, there's some example for people who are not directly working with universal credit. So let's say a lady called Sarah moved to universal credit as part of managed migration, and she receives a transitional element of £296 a month. One of her children received the middle rate of care component of DLA. So her award consists of standard allowance, child element, carers element, housing element, transitional element. So her total universal credit would be £2,315. And then she moved to UC. She was not working and had no income. So after a few months, she gets a part-time job, and she 8 hours per week at the minimum wage. So these earnings of £91 per week do not erode her transitional element, as earnings are not an element. Instead, they will reduce their award in the usual way. However, Sarah is entitled as a parent. She is entitled to work allowance of £404, and her monthly earnings are below. So therefore, it won't be affected. So maybe it's a bit, I went a bit into specifics, but as I said, universal credit has loads into it because it is replacing 6 biggest legacy benefits. And we always say, I know DWP is giving loads of support to the clients. They are providing some face-to-face support, but however, they are not legally allowed to give any tactical advice on when is the best time, on erosion and so on. So that's why, we would recommend clients to contact our Universal Credit Help to Claim helpline. So what the Help to Claim service is, so it's a national service for anyone in the UK needing advice and practical support before making a universal credit claim and up until the first correct payment is received, which is very important because we are dealing with many clients whose first payment wasn't correct. So the service is free, impartial, and confidential. We have a big team of advisors most of them are working since 2019. So they can support clients with universal credits with their closed eyes now, So a help to claim advisor can help you to confirm, a client to confirm the eligibility for universal credit, to explain how and when clients should apply to universal credit, to calculate whether they are better off on receiving universal credit or staying on another benefit. So this is very important because, universal credit help to claim helpline, it's not only for people affected by the managed migration. It's for anyone receiving any form of benefit, because once they contact our helpline, it's mandatory for each and every advisor to complete a better off benefit calculation. And we had many people who are better off on universal credit, and therefore they can just make a move without losing any longer. So also we can navigate through the stressful managed migration process to check client's deadline and final deadline date for managed migration to ensure they complete the claim within the specified time to prevent any delays in payments and ensure clients move to universal credit on the best time, depending on their personal circumstances. To ensure they are receiving the correct legacy benefits and the amounts are correct to enable you to receive the correct transitional protection. Yet again, if we see that clients are missing some, let's say, severe disability premiums, we give advice and, if needed, support on how to apply and how to request a backdated severe disability premium before they make a claim for universal credit. Also, we advise on if there could be a transitional element available or transitional protection for the capital or students. A help to claim advisor can support and guide clients on how to make digital universal credit claim, support clients with conference call to DWP, making a non-digital claims. We make a conference call and we stay with the clients on the line until claim is submitted to make sure that they provide correct information, because some people are confused and so on. And then we have our team has a brief conversation after. So we have access to language line, to British Sign Language, and these can be added to all calls. And we can support with mandatory considerations and guide on appeal process. So unfortunately, help to claim advisor cannot help directly resolve technical issues and support after first universal credit payment have been received. But however, we have a direct route to all local citizens advice. So if any additional help is needed after the first universal credit payment, we can make a direct referral, and we do it a lot. And currently, we cannot offer, we hope it's currently, because we do challenge it, we do ask for additional funding, but currently we cannot offer face-to-face support, and we cannot make changes on claim on client's behalf. So easiest way to reach us is our phone number, and some people who cannot speak English, they can just call and say, I don't know, Turkish, Urdu, and we will add language line with required interpreter. And well, as I said, we have relay service available, and also people can chat with us if they don't feel talking for whatever reasons. So yeah, as I said, we can refer people to local citizens advice. So that's pretty much, and I'm sure I shared with Charlie, we have a direct referral route for the most vulnerable clients. So if it's a form to fill in, it's a simple form, and you can just send to our advisors, and we are aiming to deal with it within 2 working days. I mean, so we understand that if we receive referral, it requires more support. So therefore, we may do some follow-ups and so on. Well, any questions? Probably I was too fast as always.
Very comprehensive. Thank you, Christina.
You're welcome.
I have a few, but does anyone have any questions? I guess I'll kick off. Christina, do you know, a lot of times when people are working with residents, they're with them directly face to face. Do you have a sense of how long you might wait on? Do you know about the wait times on phones, or when is the best time to call to get through?
Yeah, so last time I checked our data, the maximum waiting time was 20 minutes. The best time to call is between 8 and 10 a.m. So according to our data, the waiting time then is no more than 5 seconds. That's the latest data I've seen.
Pretty good.
Yeah, we are coping so far. I mean, just our Havering team. So I think when we started, well, I was too personally from East End to Havering, so we had 11 advisors, and now we are having 21, and by the end of this month we'll get 4 more full-time advisors. So we have a big team to support. I mean, they are taking national calls, but also,
Sorry, I think you're okay now. There was just a bit of interference. Go ahead.
Yeah, so but we have a good team, big team to support local citizens, local South and East London residents, because that's from we are receiving referrals.
Thank you. Claire.
Are you having a large number of people ignoring the migration letters?
I wouldn't say large, no. I would say rather we have many people who are calling us for advice, because I mean there's no limits. Clients can call us 20 times until they're confident. So I would say rather we have clients calling us, repeatedly and asking for advice before they even receive a letter. So they ask for the calculation, they ask, about how universal credit works and so on. Then in many cases, they ask for follow-up emails, so they have this in writing. So they go through the email, through the better off benefit calculation. Then they call us again with additional questions. So I would say this is pattern rather than, people missing their deadlines.
I wonder, Christina, do you have an example of what the letters could look like? Because I know that when I was an officer, sometimes a resident would give me a letter that I might not know what it looks like or what it means.
I do, yeah. I can share it with you. Yeah, I do have a letter, yeah.
Can that be shared with all of us as well, and the slides?
Yeah, so I'll share it with Charlie and then he'll share with everyone, yeah?
It will go out via the normal poverty reduction newsletter, but Claire, if you want it specifically, you drop me a line and I'll send it over to you.
Thank you. Cheers.
Abby.
Yeah, I was just thinking that I wonder if the residents that Christina, that you and your team are seeing are the ones who actually have seen the letter and it hasn't stuck in the pile unopened. But just to feedback on kind of a round table working group we've had around how is this migration going from what we can understand with the data. When we looked at the numbers for kind of the first round, this would have been, I think, from August, so not factoring in the latest numbers, but it was 3,318 had migrated and or had been, on the path to migration. And out of that number, only 248 hadn't migrated, hadn't completed the migration. So that was what, a 7.5% kind of non-migration rate, which was really good. The team they said, when we've seen this go through in on different pathways, different migrations, the number's much higher. So to have over 90% following through, moving through the migration was a big win.
Well, yeah, it seems very good outcome, isn't it? Well, but I mean, I would say in Hackney probably is the best support. I've because I work with so many boroughs, South and East London, and I would say Hackney is that the residents could only dream about this support, and so many, because I received the most email, the most requests to do presentation or to attend schools or other events, from Hackney, to be honest. And yeah, you're doing well, and it can be seen by results, isn't it?
What would we do without Rachel Salmon, I think is the question, who's been leading on the UC migration work for us. Mimi, do you want to come in? And then Joycelyn afterwards, if that's all right. Mimi? You're on mute currently, Mimi, we can't hear you.
Yeah, why not the migration is not automatically?
No, a person must make a claim. It's not automatically. So when letter is sent, the person must make claim themselves, either digitally or phone claim. Yeah, so it's not automatically.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mimi. Joycelyn, you raised your hand earlier and you've got a question in the chat. Can you speak?
Yeah. I want to find out, can we still use 10to-you to help clients to access their universal credit?
Sorry, can you say again? I didn't fully understood.
Yeah, we normally use 10to-you. Help them to access if they qualify or if they have any claim to make. Can we still use it?
You can. I mean, so there are free government trusted benefit calculators. So it's policy and practice, 10to-us and entitled to. They're all the same good. It's just, depending on the person, whatever they use. But with managed migration, it's not that simple. So some elements might be missing. Or let's say if you say the client is student, the calculation won't show the correct results. So, some cases are simple. Single person, with let's say housing benefit and ESA and PIP. So yeah, probably it's okay to use that, you know, but some cases, as we all know, can be way complicated, you know, maybe some children on the edge of ending education, and some of, you know, are waiting to be assessed for PIP, and you know, you name it. So then I would say, you know, signpost clients to us, or you can, if you're seeing client face to face, you can call this client being next to you to our advice, and you know, it can be we still can have conversation with you and client being next to you.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Do we have any other questions for Christina from anyone on the call?
When is the deadline for the migration, please?
Depending on
some
each
of them-
person. So when they receive a letter, normally the deadline date is there on the letter. So they're given 3 months to migrate. If we are talking about final deadline, it's 4 months minus 1 day. But as I said, for some people, it's better to make a claim even before managed migration letter. For some people, it's better to make a claim as soon as they receive managed migration. For some, it's worth to wait until the last day before the deadline. But normally, it's 3 months. It's 3 months given while notice is issued.
Okay.
Can I just ask, are you sending out
Thank
the
you.
letters in like a criteria list? You're sending them out to certain groups of people at a time, or everybody's getting them?
I don't know. I mean, yeah, so there are benefits. We are not sending, it's DWP sending.
Yeah, are the DWP sending them out in like a criteria list?
Yeah. So it's based on the benefits, and I guess, you know, the way to send it, as my brain could imagine, it could be maybe by postcode. So they are starting on certain postal area. But well, number one is what benefits they are on, and they have a, like, in June maybe they started housing benefit, and then in September they started ESA claimants, and so on. So yeah, there is this pattern how they do it.
Thank you, Christina, and thank you, because you've always been very responsive when I've had queries that I've passed on to partners as well. So it really is a great service, and thank you very much for taking the time to present. And thank you for Toby presenting too. Do we have any more questions for either presentation, either to Toby or to Christina? I mean, in that case,
Everyone wants to go out and enjoy the sunshine, eh?
I know, I'm keeping people here, unfortunately, aren't I?
It won't last long, eh?
We usually open up the meeting now for anyone who has a question or is dealing with a particular situation and wants some advice, would like to share an update or give an announcement about any of the programs they're running. Does anyone have anything they'd like to share with everyone on the call, or anything they'd like to kind of discuss as a group? Obviously, we can't be specific with names, so just if there is something case-wise, be as general as you can for GDPR purposes.
Actually, I have a question. Abi, was it you who deals with a Jewish community? Because I remember from the last meeting, you know, I said I could help because I know these people are struggling, and well, unless I missed the email, but I haven't received anything related to Jewish community and support needed.
I have been working with some organizations in the Orthodox Jewish community, yes. But that's a great reminder for me to reach out to you and make sure that you're connected with some people who might be able to you know, have the trusted relationships with the families that might be getting the letters there.
Yeah, because I can imagine. Well, I know there's lots of stigma there, isn't it? So we need to. I mean, they need extra support, and before they lose, you know, before they miss their deadline. So yeah, I'm here. Use me, you know, before while I'm here. So yeah,
Thanks, Christine. I'm going to send you an email right now.
Okay. Okay then.
Thank you. That's a really good example of what this kind of tool session can be like. Is there anything else anyone would like to kind of bring up and share what's going on with them at the moment? Normally, I would take this opportunity to plug Crew Energy, but they've done that already today. if there's nothing immediate, I'd like to pass off to Alvina, if she's still on the call, to talk about the next tool session, which will be a bit different from how we normally run them in a fortnight. Alvina, are you around to just have a quick?
Yes, can everyone hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Perfect. So John announced this 2 weeks ago, but I'll announce it again. So we're celebrating 2 years of the Tools for Frontline Staff sessions. So this will be our first in-person session, and it will take place at Carib Eats, so that's Dalston Lane Community Centre. And this will be on Thursday, the 3rd of October, 2024. And it will be from 3:30 till 5:30. So it's a chance for us to recognise your incredible work and support within Hackney residents. We'll have presentations, discussions, and it'll also be a space for you to connect with others, and also a space for you to give us feedback. There'll be food provided, and we'd also like you to fill out a Google form, which I will drop in the chat shortly, just to confirm your attendance so that we know a rough estimate of people that will be attending. And also, if you'd like to present at the event, please do let us know in this form. And please also let us know any organisations that you'd like to hear from on the day or connect with, or any specific support that you would like to hear about at the event. And we also have a flyer that will be circulating tomorrow so that you can share with other people. Thank you.
Thank you, Alvina. It would be really great to see some of you there if you are able to make it in person. I know we've all spent a lot of the last couple of years on Zoom calls or Google Meets. So it's nice to put a name to a face properly in person as well. If there's nothing, is there anything else, Abby?
I mentioned the school coffee mornings earlier with regards to having Chinazo from Crew there, but I did want to just say a huge thank you to this space and those of you who have either been at any, responded to any of John and my call out or Charlie's call out for going to those. We've run 2 out of the 8 that we'll do. And already both of the head teachers have said, this has been the biggest turnout of a coffee morning we've had. They were expecting maybe 30 parents at the most, and we've had 46 and 53. And just to see all of the tables with all of the community partners and services there, and how much conversation was going on, and the feedback that was coming from parents, from the partners, and from the school staff was just huge. So really, thank you, thank you, thank you. And we hope that next week goes as well, it goes as smoothly. So thank you again.
It was really great. I went to one on Tuesday. I know that we had some colleagues from Volunteer Centre Hackney there as well, and I saw them chatting away to lots of people, Claire, so we hope it was helpful. Have you spoken to them since that event? How did they find it?
Yeah, they said it was great, actually, really good, because our demographics are usually 50 plus. So it was great to get in contact and actually good networks with the schools. So they've allowed us to advertise and promote the activities in the schools as well to the parents, and they're going to put in a newsletter. So it's been really positive for us so far this week. Some of them we can't attend, sadly, because they're Fridays and the team does not work Fridays, but the rest we will be there, definitely.
Thanks, that's great to hear, Claire. Is there anything else anyone would like to bring? Christina?
So this was an accident. So
An accidental hand.
Mm-hmm.
In that case, if there isn't anything that we kind of want to bring up and discuss today, we hope to see many of you on October the 3rd for the next session in person. Unfortunately, I won't be there. Unfortunately, I'm on annual leave. Poor me. But we really do hope that you go, and there'll be members of the team there, as well as we're kind of inviting all the partners who've been attending over the last 2 years. And we think it coincides with the 50th meeting as well. So it's 2 years and 50 meetings of the space. And we really hope it's a nice opportunity to learn about each other and connect, and, you know, also prepare for what will be the next period, which is as we go into winter, which we'll need to keep running this session to make sure we all know what's going on. In that case, thank you all for your time. Thank you again to Christina and Toby for presenting, and hope you all enjoy the rest of your evenings and what little light there is left. So thank you, everyone.
Yeah, have a good evening. I'll send you, well, I'll try to send you an email today, yeah, with whatever.
Christina, don't worry, you can send it to me tomorrow. It'll be fine. I'll
You see,
forward it on.
tomorrow I'm sitting on 3 chairs, so tomorrow I'm doing something else, you know.
Maybe do it tonight then.
Okay, take care. Bye.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, everyone.
Thank you, Charles.
Have a
Bye.
good night. Take care.